welcome everybody. This is our first meeting of our passport team. So we're going to start by doing introductions around the room. So we'll start with Heidi.
All right, I'm Heidi Cachat, school counselor.
I'm Dodie Martin. I teach 8th grade English.
I'm Kristen Gibson. I'm the campus learning coordinator here.
Marie Goodwin, 7th grade mathematics.
Hello, I'm Leah Sands, principal, Pleasant Grove Middle School.
And I'm Gina Morrison. This is my team, and Leah is our ham on our team. So funny. So you guys, in your folders, you all have you all have an agenda. And so I thought we would start out with introductions. We just did our introductions. So now I'm going to tell you the purpose of the goal of the meeting. So we are to come up with an issue on campus that we're having related to student learning. And the issue, this is really something that I started last year, and I wanted to get you guys in on this team because it was kind of a prototype last year, and I want to get you guys in on it to give me some feedback, and eventually I'd like to send it out to all the other teams if everybody agrees that it's a good tool. So in your packet, well, let me just start with this. In your packet, it took me forever to find this. Last year when we started Solution Tree, this was one of the handouts that Julie gave us, and it's the 250 influences on student achievement. And this is really what made me think about doing this project. Because if you look on it's on the first page, prior knowledge and background under students, self-reported grades is supposed to have like 1.33. And the scale of this, the positives, if you look over on the right side, there's a key for rating potential to influence student achievement. So there's a dark blue, those are the higher ones. So basically it's like there's a 0 is kind of the baseline, and anything above 0 is a positive influence, anything below 0 is a negative influence. And the highest number on here is like, it doesn't go like that 1.33 may be the highest one on there. It is the highest one on there. So I asked Julie, so what all does that mean, student self-reported grades? So this is like when they set their goals, they keep track of their data and the progress, how they're doing on their different priority standards. So last year we all set our priority standards, and I've always with my kids after their tests, I give them their test back and we talk about how they did on their test, but they have never really, and we like, here's the correct answer and all that, but they've never really tracked their data themselves. And so I came up with this form, and you have this sheet. Last summer, I just started working on it because I had some extra time. I haven't had this summer, but last summer I had a little bit of extra time. So I called it a passport. Stands for Priority Standards Progress Tracker. We did these forms. We've got to go back and do this. I forgot about that. We've got to do team norms. We'll come back to that at the end. So what is a passport, and why do I need to use one? Priority Standards Progress Tracker. Evidence shows that students who track their own progress on their data are more successful. According to Mike Mattis, we need to be aware of every student's progress by standard at all times. Actually, the last breakout that I went to, he actually brought this up, and I was like, we got this going on. So then this John Hattie's list is what you're looking at right here. All right, so here's the list. Here's this, and I'll share this PowerPoint with you guys. So before their test, before every CSA, Common Summative Assessment, their unit test, they get this sheet, this passport data sheet. And it's pre-filled in, so like the one that you have is the Unit 6 test passport data sheet. And I go in and fill it in by standard. So you'll notice like number 1 is 8.6a. The first 5 questions on the test are always going to be review standards from the last test. And then they'll have current, so the current standard, and then they'll have the next unit standard. And this one I think this was not one this is one I've changed later. But anyway, so usually the last 5, like 21 through 25, are going to be the pre-test for the next test. And so they can tell on here which ones are gonna count, which ones are not gonna count, so they know if it's a preview, the bottom 5, they're not gonna count against them, and they're not gonna put them on their passport, because they haven't covered them yet. And so anyway, so when they take their CSA, they put their answers right here in this first column. So I pass this out to them, they put their name on it, they put it in their binder, or usually I take them up because they've got the answers written on their sheet, and then I'll give it back to them the next day. And then we go through the correct responses, they write it on here, and then in this column, they do a check or X. Did I get it right? Did I miss it? So then, after they get this back, they go online, because at the beginning of the year, I sent this out to them through Google Classroom. So they all saved a folder in their Google Drives called Passports, and right now it just has science in it, but eventually they'll have one for, you know, science, math, reading, hopefully social studies, whenever we get it all, if we decide to do that. So anyway, they go online, and this should be linked. So this is what it looks like. So what happens is, so for like Unit 1 test, here's the unit test right here. Unit 1, this standard 8.10a, there were 7 questions. So if they got, let me erase all these. Keyboard. Okay, so when I put 4 out of 7 in, it gives them the average over here, how they're doing so far. So then on the next unit, Unit 2 test, there's gonna be 5 of these probably, and there's gonna be probably 10 of these, and there's gonna be, you know, probably 5 of these, but they don't put the pre-test ones on there. So as they go, every time they take a test, we're gonna keep circling back to that 8.10a, and as we do, as we put them in as a fraction right here, their average is gonna go up, and it's conditional formatting. So if they're doing red, they're not doing good. If they're in the yellow, they're doing good. If it turns green, then eventually they're doing good. It took them a while to kind of figure this out, and there were a few problems that we need to correct, and most of it had to do with, well, I can't find my thing, what did I do with it, or I tried to not password, but I tried to protect these cells that have the formulas in them, and some of them somehow went in and changed the formulas. So there's some kinks to work out, but by the end of the year, I'm gonna tell you, probably 3 units in, I was kind of scratching my head going, okay, is this really worth it? Because it's a lot, and some of the other science teachers were like, this is a lot. But you have to do it for a while for it to kind of gel with the kids. But by the time I got to like Unit 5, I was starting to hear conversations, because after we go through and we put this in, I say, okay, anybody want to share? You know, how are you doing on your 8.10a? Maybe what's your best standard? What's your worst standard? Anybody want to share? So they'll just start sharing out. So, you know, I went up on my 8.10a. I feel good about that, you know, or I need to work on my 8.8a. And they started having those conversations. And then, you know, I would have kids come up to me and say, you know, are we on this next unit test, are we going to have any 8.8As? Because I'm like at 67% on that. And I really need to get that up. Which, when they started doing that, I was like, oh my gosh, this was worth all the work, you know. And when they can tell me, you know, I'll say, hey, well, what is 8.7A? And they can tell me what the standard is. Oh, that's the one we do the moon phases. And so it was really pretty amazing. So it's a lot of work, but I think I've kind of got the hard part done. As far as, you know, what each department would have to do, you'd have to go in and put your standards in. So we'd have to type those in. You could change your little thing at the top, push them out to the kids in a folder. And I don't know if you guys want to continue to use this, or if we need to, you know, what changes we want to make on it, or if you even feel like it's worthwhile. But this is just something I've been doing, and I mean, it worked for my kids. Like, I really liked it. And what, you know, Mike Matos was saying, at any given time, you need to know by student, by standard, how they're doing, which is pretty daunting task if you think about it. So the other thing that I thought about when he said that is, you know, I have these, and I can put these all in folders in my drive by like period or whatever, but I don't have a document at any given time where I can look and go, oh, she's doing this on this and this. So what I need to develop, or what we can develop, is a document, maybe, you know, instead of this, I don't know, maybe in addition to this, something that we could pass out to the kids whenever we're having this second day after our CSA, and they can write on it for me and then give it back to me, and I'll just have a master notebook by period. So, you know, maybe it's just an updated, look something like this. But you know, do a different sheet every time, or do you erase it, or what, you know? So it's kind of need to think through that, but the end goal is for me to have a binder where I can flip through by period alphabetically in there and say, okay, this kid, I can look it up in 1 minute and say, oh, this kid is at this level on this standard, you know? So that's kind of the thing that I wanna work on now. And I'm just gonna kind of get you guys input. What do you think about it?
Well, do you pass this, they keep this?
Okay,
Or do they
so
give us
when
back?
on the test days, they come in and I keep a card over there in front of my door. And so when they walk by the door, they look on the card and see what's there. So whatever we're doing that day, they grab it off the card. So on days that we're taking a test, they walk in and grab a passport off the card. They sit down, they take their test, I remind them about 10 times during the test, don't close your test out without writing down your responses. So at the end of the test, before they leave, they hand this back to me. I keep them all paper clipped until everybody's finished with the test. The next day, the day after that, and then I hand them back to them so they're not walking around with the test answers on their paper all day. Hand them back to them. We go over the test. I put the test on the board. We talk about the answers. What they also get in Eduphoria, you can go in and print we just call it a miss strip. I don't know what you guys
Test
call it.
correction.
Test correction strip. So I'll print their miss strips and hand them out to them. And usually I just have it stapled onto that. Hand them out to them. They staple it to the bottom. I staple it to the bottom. And then they can go through and they can see which ones that they missed. And then they open up their computers and they go in and put them in on their passport online, which is good. So far they're keeping up with it, but I don't have that end piece of, you know, me having a notebook where I can look at everybody. You know, I can always say, let me look at your passport, and I usually do walk around the room and look at them, but I think that final step is to go ahead and have a document to keep in a binder. What do you think?
I like this, so if you would please send me a copy of this, and I'll
Yes.
make a copy and use it for math. This is great, I love this, where they're actually looking at what standards they're actually supposed to learn and whether they got it or not. My only hesitation with math is, sometimes it takes the kids 2 or 3 days to take a test. So it's very difficult to go over the test, you know, in class. We do it, we have to, but I also let the kids earn credit back for questions that they redo correctly. So I'm not gonna give them their test correction strips. What I usually do on the front of their test is I go through and I write down which ones they missed, and they get an opportunity to go back and tell me why they missed it, what they should do differently next time. I love the idea of them keeping track of their percentages. In my mind, I'm thinking for math, and I'm not saying I won't do that because I can see where having a report would be great. I'm worried about the time it's gonna take to do it. But if I had charts in my room with the standards, and just a chart for every class with the standards on it, and the kids are keeping track of their standards, and when they meet, you know, checking it off or something like that, I feel like that would work better for math. Now, I'm not, you know, Irene may have a different point of view, but
Well, you don't have time. I mean, I
I
think it's
don't,
very
because we only
important.
have 43 minutes.
Yeah.
But
Well,
also,
We're going
right,
back to
so-
43 minutes, so that's gonna be kind of the same.
But I mean, I think, I love the idea of that. I'm just not really sure, like, as we're introducing the kids, keeping track of their data, it may be enough for them to keep these.
Yeah.
3-hole punched in their little folders that we keep in the room. And the other thing I might wanna do is set for the next test a goal,
Right.
a percentage of a goal.
Well, maybe we can alter it somehow, the sheet.
I
so
love
that
the
you're
sheet.
keeping, so that you're keeping a running percentage of how, to me, that was the goal, is to keep a running percentage of how they're doing by standard.
Well, in math kids, it's a great opportunity to figure out their average or their
Right.
mean, so.
But I think if this is something that we're doing in every subject, every grade, we have to claim that
Ooh.
1 day a week, you're working on your data notebook, or you're working on your passport.
Okay.
To use that
And
word.
you send them with this, they have a place where they keep up with it, or you give it to your claim teacher and they keep up with it for you, because.
And so there's times that it's not taking away from,
I like that.
from.
I mean, I
from
think
content.
being able to have
Because
the,
this is important.
being able to have the
Yes.
report at our fingertips is lovely.
Right.
And I love
But-
how visual this is.
And I want the kids to have,
Right.
exactly,
That's
Right.
we want the kids to know where they are.
And
Right.
I think for like the kids learning, I think there's something valuable for them being able to touch it, but like, I don't know, I mean,
That's a
I don't
great
wanna talk
idea.
about like the expert, but when he was doing this with his school, like, I don't think Google Drive was where it
Right.
was. And so you can say, I might not have it on a piece of paper, but so you can find it, and that's just as valuable for you
Right.
as it is to have it in a notebook.
Right.
Right.
I mean, now, for the kids, I think right now, like, while we're teaching them the importance, I think it's good to have it in
Mhm.
paper.
Both
But for
yeah.
you, I don't think you'd have to have that in any other form, because it's there. I mean, yeah, it may take you a minute to find it,
I
but
wanna
Right.
get them
it would take you a minute to
True.
find it in the notebook.
True.
I don't
just need
think,
to make
No,
a
they
folder in my
master.
drive
I mean,
for
that was-
each class.
And I like what you said about class period, I think.
You're
that's good.
right.
And I love
That
that
way
it's
the-
here, so
yes.
they don't lose, if ever, you know. they
It's
lose
in
it,
there,
They've
right.
always got it, yeah.
Right.
but,
All
I mean,
that data.
2008, like, might have not been as savvy, and it might have been easier to have it on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
The work is there,
Well,
so.
and I feel like there's probably a way on Aware
There
to
is,
track their progress
There
on a
is.
single standard.
there is.
Now, this year we tried, and it wouldn't update it like this is updating it, like real time, like it would tell you on each individual test.
Yeah,
what
but
the
it wouldn't
standard
average
was, but
it.
it wouldn't take it all together. So I like that because it averages it all together. I
And they
think
can
if-
actually see they're going up.
Yeah, see the red
If you
turn
do something
green, yeah.
tangible, I feel like it needs to be the same thing for every class and all in one place, like one notebook that the kid has or folder with all the things for all the classes. And either it lives in their plain homeroom or wherever it is, or in their backpack, or they're gonna lose it in their backpack 1,000, you know what I mean, like that. But I feel like if it's something that we wanna do like systematically, it needs to be the same for every course. It needs to
Are they
be
gonna
data
have the
for-
same, yeah, data formula or just a goal formula, but, or for that, you know what I mean? But if they're all gonna have basically the same claim class, that would be where we could keep them.
Well, and they don't necessarily have to have this, like I keep this paper. It could just be, we could just send out, like Tech Help could send out a folder for them in their drive
Yeah,
to put all their passports in. So they have a math passport, a science passport. And, you know, after a while, this didn't take very long.
Okay.
The kids, well, they're all 8th grade, but the 6th graders and 7th graders did it in science last year too. So
okay,
they all know how to use this. So
so we're just gonna be training the 6th grade.
Well,
just-
and we could train them in science for the first couple of units until they get the hang of it
Yeah.
before we pushed it out to the others, and
Yeah,
then they would
and
already
it-
know how to do it, just in a different.
That's
way.
fine.
And we don't have to do everybody at once, or we could do, one class, or however y'all wanna do it, or just change it completely. I just saw that this was a need and was gonna show you what I started using and see what everybody thought about
I
it.
think the basis that you have here is awesome. I mean, I love
It's a lot of
this.
work.
And the 6th graders also have that technology class year long, every 6th
I would
grader
just
has
take what you
technology,
got
so
and put math in and open another tab. I mean, I'm
And
not,
they could, each
Yeah, that's what I was
kid
thinking,
could
the
Oh,
tag
put
on
it
the
all in
bottom.
one thing.
Like, you could just make a copy
Oh,
of that.
that's a good idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep, we
And
could do
this is-
that.
this
I mean, we
is-
could put math symbols on the top instead of.
Right.
And you could, and what you could do also is, if they kept this up for math for the first couple of units, and they had this, then after y'all got the hang of filling the sheet out, then you could give them like 2 or 3 math units worth and say, go in there and input it, and so then that would kind of.
Just start out with the sheet.
Start out with the
Yeah.
paper,
Do that.
like a slow roll on internet.
Yeah, like
into
first
that.
9 weeks science, and then we'll introduce.
I
another
love
subject.
I think too, though, I think they need to have their goals. I
There
love
needs to be
that.
a
I do
place
too.
Well, that's something that I put on I thought I did put on the agenda, yeah, maybe I
Just
did.
take that one off.
That we needed to put goals on there too.
Right, okay, good.
Yes. So we do need to add goals somewhere, I don't know.
I found that when my kids set goals.
Yes.
That
Yes.
they would
Strive for
either
it.
be upset that they didn't make it, or they'd be like, yes, I made it.
And have them write down, if I didn't meet my goal, what would I do differently
To
next
them
time?
before
Double
that
check my
day.
answers.
Yes. I would
No, I
take
give it
more
to
time
them
and
in the
double
morning
check
every
it.
test.
Well, maybe even like as soon as they get their test, like what is their goal? Like, and then you have a goal for next.
And I think you could put it on here,
Yep, for the
and
next
then they
test.
can get immediate feedback on this.
All right, guys, we're at 20 minutes. Let's take a short break.
Okay.